Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Yasko. Okay, this prediction covers the second half of March. The other one, it says March, but that's the first half of March. But this one is the second half of March. But sometimes, if you notice, if you go back to the February readings, they kind of mesh with, because they move into March. Excuse me. In fact, let me first point out, excuse me, about the last month's predictions. The last month's footwear. It says footwear, cosmetics, oil, all move the markets. See, they were the market movers, as I stated the in the March predictions and in the February predictions. So you may want to check out these sectors ahead of time and start tracking them. Remember that this channel is not an advisory, okay? It's astrology. So in astrology, win or lose all depends on your destiny promised in the chart, your birth chart. So do not take positions, invest or trade for any reasons using my predictions. You will have to bear the risk of speculation. This channel is just showing you how astrology is used for market predictions. I'm not a trader or investor or a financial advisor. I am not watching the technicals at all. So I'm not even looking at the price. I did trade in the past using technicals, but right now I have no interest in that. I am only interested in astrological predictions, no technicals whatsoever. In the past, I used Elliott Wave and other technicals, but I don't even look at those right now. So I'm not saying that they don't work. They do work actually, but my point is that technicals for me is for price, and I'm not a trader, so I do not need the technicals, only astrology, and I'm doing this forecast only using astrology, and astrology is something that's totally different. So please go check out the predictions and the chaos and opportunity. I specifically pointed to the disruptor leaving the oil fields. So Uranus, the disruptor, will be out of Aries in second week of March. In the third week of February this month, the disruption basically ended. See, I also issued the crisis warning for February 7th and 8th. The market made a big plunge that day. So that, and I specifically stated the date. So that's in the chaos and opportunity. So check that out. At this upload, I just heard that NBC had also reported on the Humira and Congress against the big pharma for the high cost of drugs. That's also in the predictions. And then about the expose too, the New England Patriots. That too is in the predictions. That was made about a month ago, or I recorded it a month ago. So this second half is about somebody at the top that moves the market, because it is about stock market. And somebody at the top makes a move and moves the markets. So, but and I know about the meeting with China, but it looks like this is about avoiding crisis and predicaments. So trading is going to be rigorous. Market is is getting hot for both bulls and the bears. It's a trader's market because U.S. assets cannot move without getting the debts out of the way. That's basically the situation. So go to Chaos and Opportunity and read the Jupiter square Neptune. You see, it cannot make that move because there's something in the way. Neptune is in the way. And I would say that is something that we have to confront in the summer. So, as I said, something that comes from the top, Congress, Treasury, or something from abroad that rattles the markets because it affects the workforce and their money. That's one level or one situation. And there could be a war, whether it's actual war or a dispute. There's something that rattles the market and people, just like it did when Dow took that, what was it, 200 or 400 point plunge. Second week, was it second week of February. So keep an eye on the markets. And what did I say? So because there is a crisis. In fact, the second week of March, I don't know if I mentioned it in the other prediction, but there's something that's going to be dropped. So things can be delayed or, postponed. But some predicament or some situation happens and there's something that has to be dropped. And this is on the trader's side also, or people who are trading. So maybe you decide to go long and reversed it and went short. I'm not sure. But just keep an eye on it because I'm not calling go long or short. Okay. See, the top authority is well placed, whoever moves the market. In fact, very well placed astrologically, and his actions will likely move the markets. So, but there's going to be crisis, so you need to look out for that. And if this is about labor disputes, both sides are avoiding a war. So workers' earnings could have been cut. And there could be a strike or some disruption or discrepancies in the labor market, and the topic of wages become critical issue. So there is trouble because the labor force or even the unions or the workers are now upset and about to lose their head. And this could be a secret or behind the scenes negotiation or some dispute taking place kind of behind the scene. But I think this is about the labor unions. Now, that's one. Okay. And yes, China negotiation will likely come to light, and their housing market could also be troubling, and that type of news could come out too. So if a deal is reached, it would not be favorable for U.S. currency or maybe even the commodities yet. This meeting should be quick if it happens as scheduled. That's if it happens as scheduled. It's not the most favorable at this time, as I said. The focus this month is on avoiding a war. So they're both stepping aside, stepping not to get in each other's way maybe, but it's about avoiding or avoidance. Okay, and the problem could be commodities, telecom, auto, patent infringement, and currency as well. The U.S. side is well positioned, but I'm not reading this as amicable. Sorry, there's a train going. It's behind the studio. The U.S. side is well positioned, but I'm not reading this as an amicable embrace or a done deal yet. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. If this is about the telecom chip sector, I don't see them in a good space. So there could be changes or even delays. I'm really not sure if it's happening as scheduled. And as I said, by looking at the telecom sectors, the telecom chip, it, they don't seem to be in a good space. So this is why I get the feeling this meeting is probably just to get things started, and they can agree on it maybe verbally, but nothing is written in stone is what I'm trying to say, and the real thing can be postponed. So next area of crisis is the currencies. First, the US dollar has strength, but it is high in value vis-a-vis others. Therefore, our labor could be just as high, competitively speaking. So I'm not advocating lower wages, or I'm not reading this. I'm just reading this astrology. It's like a language, so there are nouns, verbs, adjectives, like any other language. So I'm just reading this. So there's a critical issue with the U.S. assets also being overvalued. And I would not say U.S. assets are a bubble because it is well placed. That means U.S. currency can hold its own place under the sun very proudly. But as I indicated earlier, there is something that's blocking that. And it's a critical issue right now. In all this crisis, the authorities, Congress, or even Treasury, or anyway, the government, are in another round of dispute. So the crisis can cause sudden plunges and reversals very quickly. So I would consider this market is at a critical juncture. In April, I said to include, in February, I said to include cryptocurrency with the U.S. currency. But I don't know at this time, because if I speculate, I think Bitcoin could be overpriced and could fall and maybe move like cocoa, like really wild. Cocoa has that wild up and down swings. But I mean, that's kind of an exaggeration. But see, it's very hard for me to pinpoint this currency at this time. So I'd say maybe you can include Bitcoin as part of the currency market or the U.S. currency market. But that was just my speculation that it's going to be volatile, and from the looks of it, it could be overvalued maybe. But as I said, it's very hard for me to pinpoint this currency because it's not really considered a U.S. currency. I just see it in the U.S. chart as a currency, but I'm not really looking at Bitcoin. I'm just looking at currency. So, you may want to just strike that out. Anyway, also, yeah, the U.S. currency and assets would be a problem. So that at another level, this could involve credit cards and finance companies. So brace up, retailers. Don't get hacked. It could involve online retailers. I think the banks, mortgage lenders, and retailers are affected. This could also affect franchise businesses as well as electronic payments. When I say franchise businesses, I mean franchise type of business, like, well, Weight Watchers was on in the news today. That type, franchise type of business, um, household, I guess, household type of franchise business. So check out the big online retailers and the credit card payment processor sector. I would also look at art auctioneers too. You know, the big auction houses in New York and London. And watch the chip, the telecom chips, as well as the auto manufacturers, rails, wireless, and banks. And I think I mentioned banks already. Actually, it's not bad for the markets because we are now at the tail end of the month and things will shift to the telecom and communications sector. Actually, it's going to be good. So, but that's more at the end of the month, maybe the last week. So the negotiations, as I said, I don't see it as something that is that it could be better, but I just don't see a deal. And as I said, it's maybe verbal, but I just don't see it right now. So renegotiations have to happen, and anyway, we get caught in this chaos. So, but at the end of the month, it's going to be better for currencies, banks, and even Brexit, because I think there's talks that it's going to be delayed. But they're all going to be good at the end of the month. And for those who are waiting on legislation to pass for anything market related, that doesn't look all that favorable. Doesn't mean that it's not gonna pass, but I just don't see it happening this month. And I think that would be all for now, and I will catch up with you again.